Today we're talking about how frugal living doesn't mean you're choosing poverty.
It doesn't?
No, it does not. So we received this email from a reader. You sure have a nice house for someone who's really cheap. I would think you lived in a shack and not a $144,000 house. Your business must be doing well. Not that you don't deserve it, but it doesn't match up with your poverty mindset and kind of misleading as a business owner promoting frugal living. I know lots of really poor people and they sure don't have a house like that or truly can't afford it. I still like your books, but you've lost a lot of credibility. Sally.
Boy, what would she think now? We're in a $280,000 house. It's half as big.
Yeah, actually it's worth like $310 now. Let's talk about this.
When we lived in Kansas, we had a pretty nice house on some acreage and we were selling it and we had pictures of it online.
And it was $444,000, yes.
And a lot of the reason why it looked so nice is because of things we had done to it along the way.
We'd worked really hard. We had painted it. We put up a new fence. We spent a lot. Pretty much every weekend for 2 years, putting in gardens, taking care of things like when the septic tank broke, we had to clean all that mess up because they literally dug up probably 1.5 acres of our 2.5 acres that we had to fix. And so we spent a lot of time fixing up our house. And so it was nice. It wasn't a mansion or anything, but it was nice. So we put that on our website because we were trying to sell it for sale by owner, and we thought maybe somebody might know someone who might want to buy a house. So we got this. Email, and let me just say it really ticked me off because we've worked really, really hard to have a nice lifestyle on a one income budget. And it is a myth that you have to have 2 incomes to live in a nice house and to have nice things. It's a lie. It's just a plain lie. Society has told us we have to have 2 incomes. We can't do it without. There's just no way. And what it boils down to is the things that you want to buy that are wants and not needs. And
which actually for Americans is more than half of everything.
Oh yeah, probably 80% of the stuff Americans buy is
really
not
unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's fine to have it if you can afford it, but just pursuing it is pointless.
Yeah, if you can pay cash for it. If you have the money for it, we say go for it. That's great.
But the thing is, if you buy a lot of things that you don't need, even if you have the money, if you buy them, so I think most people are like this. They buy something, they just desire it all day long, over and over for weeks. It comes out, they get it, a day later, they don't really care about it anymore. Then next year, the newest version of that particular electronic product comes out, and people are standing in line and fighting, and it's a news story, and then they buy it and they trade in or they give their old one to their kids.
Yeah.
And then
then your family has 5 iPhones, and you're paying 5 iPhone bills, of course, because you're not going to make your kids pay for it. Guess what? We make our kids pay for their own cell phones. They have to buy it. They have to do the service, everything. We don't pay for it.
And they can't have them until they're 16 and have a driver's license.
Exactly. So we're going to run through a few things that we do.
One thing I wanted to just say right up front. Where's that lady's message? I think the clue really that she is completely on a different plane than us is the part about being really cheap. For someone who's really cheap. We're not really cheap. We don't... I used to know somebody who had a lot of money who would hang paper towels on the clothesline. I think that's cheap. Cheap is when you steal toilet paper from a restaurant because you don't want to buy it. Cheap is not saying I don't want to buy something that I don't need because I might want something else more.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, I think, is what we do is primarily choosing to spend less on things that people don't notice unless they know us, because a lot of people that we know who spend a lot more than us, if we don't tell them, hey, we got all this wood free for our shed out of the dumpster,
they would never know.
They think we went to Home Depot and paid $4,000 for it.
And we will say we live in the suburbs of Colorado now, and
Which is why the house is a lot more expensive for a smaller house.
Yeah, we moved from our $144,000 house in Kansas to Colorado. And we live on one income with 5 kids. And I can tell you that we are financially better off than probably 90% of the people that we know around us, in friends, family, that type of thing. And they have 2 incomes. And the reason is because we're careful with the way we spend our money, and we choose to spend it on things. We don't choose to spend it on things like student loans. We don't choose to spend it on new cars. So we're going to go through a few things here of how we live differently than other people, and that's how we're able to afford to have a nice house on one income. Because people always say to us, oh, I wish I could live on one income. You're so lucky to live on one income. It's not fair. Oh,
fair and luck are words that if you say those words, it's just expressing the fact that you've
made bad choices. And
yeah, fair is, I mean, we're not rich. We're definitely not rich.
No.
And still we don't complain about the things that we don't have because we've chosen that. Other people will choose to have the one thing, and then when they don't have the thing they really want, they will complain that it's not fair that somebody else has that. So somebody else has a nice house, but it's not fair even though I have a fancy car and I buy every movie that comes out on DVD even though I only watched it once.
Yeah. And we will have people say, well, I wish I could live on one income, but, and they'll list medical bills or they'll list student loans or that type of thing. We've had medical bills, and Mike and I paid off $20,000 of debt in 5 years on $22,000 a year income. And currently, we have absolutely no credit card debt. We have no student loan debt. We have no car loans. And our house is worth $310,000, and we owe about $140 on it. So we are getting our house sort of paid off too. Not as quick as we'd like, but we're getting there. So here's some of the things that we have done that help us live on one income. And we understand occasionally there are some people that truly have major life problems. We've been through it. We had a daughter born in NICU. I'm chronically ill. I couldn't work even if I wanted to. Even though the business Living on a Dime has my name on it, I only work 3 to 4 hours a week because I'm chronically ill and just can't do it. Mike does 99% of the work for the business. It's just all behind the scenes. So you don't know that he's actually the one that's doing most of it. So here's, yeah. So he makes me look good. So here's a few things that we do so that we can live on one income with 5 kids and be almost debt free. We don't eat out frequently. We do eat out every Sunday after church. Sunday is my day. I try not to cook. Occasionally we will get a $5 pizza. We'll get 1 or 2 of those for the kids because for a meal it can cost me $5 to $10 to cook a meal for a family of 7. So for me that's not a huge jump in price.
Well, the after
to do that
church thing is about $12 for 7.
Yes. Everybody orders off the dollar menu. We do not allow any sodas or any desserts. If they get something, it has to be small. We don't get the huge mega meals and all that. So we don't frequently eat out.
But our oldest teenage son, he doesn't actually eat with us anymore.
Well, yeah, he eats a lot on his own now.
But we would let him buy 2 of the small things
Yeah.
at the point where, teenager, he's getting bigger and has a bigger appetite. But still, 2 of the regular size thing is $2 and instead of $7 for the big one.
Yeah. So if we go out to eat at a sit-down restaurant, usually it's only Mike and I going on a date, and then we order water. We don't order desserts. We take home leftovers. We are shocked when we go into these restaurants and we see people with 3 kids and they leave 3/4 of their food on the table. They let them have their own sodas, and they don't even take home the leftovers, and they spend $150. It's
And put it
absolutely
on
ridiculous.
a credit card.
Yeah, and then they put it on the credit card, and they can't figure out why they're in debt. So we don't eat out frequently.
Well, and some things like with the drinks. We could say, oh, hey, it's a special occasion, we're going to have a drink. Well, the thing is that we don't drink alcohol, so we don't have that kind of an expense. But the sodas and things, $2 or $3 for one, and we just think to ourselves, is that going to really make this meal better for me? I mean, if I want, I can go to the store and get a 12-pack for that price and just bring it home and have one.
Yeah, so eating out, we don't do that a lot. Extra kids activities. Pretty much our kids are in no activities. We had them in piano lessons for a little while.
It's not that we haven't let them be in any activities.
And we've had them in karate a little bit, and that's about it. Our kids mostly don't want to.
Well, they have done band and a few things we've let them try, but never more than one activity at a time.
We never do more than one activity at a time. I certainly wouldn't pay a huge amount. I know some people that they'll spend literally thousands of dollars putting their kids in football. It's ridiculous. I had one lady tell me she spent $3,500 on her son's school football. There's no way, absolutely no way I would ever pay that. If my kid wanted to do that, he would be getting a job and paying for it himself. It's just ridiculous. There's no reason for parents to be paying those prices.
Well, and some of those things we've allowed them to try, and they just didn't want to do it. And we were thinking, well, why keep them in there? We did keep a couple of the kids in piano until they got to a certain point where they wouldn't lose the basic amount. But like with our oldest son he used to like running around and stuff, but he never really wanted to do football in that same kind of way. But mostly they like the neighborhood sports with the kids rather than going to an organized league. And I think what we're finding is a lot of people we know who spend a lot of money and put their kids in the leagues, the kids say, well, I'm doing this because dad's really excited about it.
And the kids are stressed out, and the parents are stressed out. And the parents are spending more eating out because they're tired and they don't want to deal with dinner after doing all these football games and soccer games and baseball games. It's ridiculous. And parents need to stand up and start saying, no, you do not have to do this. And we are giving you permission right now to tell your kids, no, you don't have to spend $3,500 on football. It's crazy.
And so many people that we know, they put the kids in football because everybody else is doing that, and it's the thing to do in this town, and maybe they'll get a scholarship at some point, and thinking every one of those kids isn't going to get a scholarship, and probably your kid isn't going to be the one professional football player at high school. And the kids really enjoy more playing with the other kids in the neighborhood rather than being compelled to go to practice 4 or 5 times a week when they're 9 years old or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. And things like my daughter was in choir, and they were doing a choir trip to another state, and we said, you'll have to earn the money for it. We do not pay for those kinds of things. We don't pay for any extra things like that at all, except for a few lessons here and there and that kind of thing, because the kids need to learn how to make the money to do these things, because then they will appreciate more, and then they will value what they have done by earning it and being able to go. So we limit the extra kids activities. We don't buy things like DVDs. We knew one family that had 3 kids. They were living in a trailer house, had no money. Both mom and dad were working, killing themselves. They had, I am not exaggerating, they had more than 2,500 DVDs.
Well, just what we could see, they had 2 walls of the trailer house had shelves from ceiling to floor with DVDs all the way around. And then they had this huge TV.
Yeah.
Our TV, right now it's a 32-inch TV. I think at the time it might have been smaller. They had a TV that was just gigantic, and they were telling us how lucky it was that for us that we lived in a house that wasn't a mobile home, because they hated their mobile home. But they spent so much money on that, and then they also had 2 car payments, probably
They had 2 car payments. They ate out
$30,000.
every single day because the mom was totally worn out from working all the time. They ate out all the time. And they didn't eat out cheap either. Everybody got a soda, that kind of thing. But
they hated their house, and yet they made probably more than double the money that we made.
Did. Yeah.
And we lived in a house they envied.
Yeah.
But just
Now,
because we didn't care about all that stuff.
yeah. Now here's a big one. Not going on vacation. Okay, so just a disclaimer here. We would really like to do this, but we just have not had the cash. And in 20 years, we have had 1 3-day vacation to Silver Dollar City in Branson. Otherwise, all our vacations have been back here to Colorado to visit family. And as we all know, visiting family is not a real vacation. So we've been on 1 vacation. That would be nice, but we don't spend $10,000 a year to go to Disney World. We've never been to Disney World. Disney World, if you want to send us, we'd be happy to review it for you, but we've never been to Disney World or Disneyland, anything like that. So that's another thing where we save.
Any of the types of vacations where you might have to take out a second loan on your house,
or get a credit card.
It would be unlikely that we would want to go on a vacation like that for the most part, even if we had the money, just because the cost is so excessive.
Yeah. Let's see. The next thing we do is we buy 95% of our clothes secondhand. We buy new shoes, new underwear, and pretty much everything else. We only buy new shoes for the teenagers and above. All the other shoes and clothes for the littler kids were bought at secondhand stores. Pretty much everything we buy is at secondhand stores. I can buy a polo shirt for $1, $1.50 at the thrift store, $10 new. I one time did buy a brand new polo shirt from LL Bean just to see if it would last longer. It didn't. It started shredding within 2 years, and so I'll never do that again. So we buy all of our clothes secondhand. Now, the other way we really save is we don't buy new cars, ever. We have never, ever bought a new car. And we paid $7,000 for our most recent van, but most of our cars we've spent between $1,000 and $2,500 is what we average to pay for our cars.
More recently, we've moved into kind of the $3,500 range just because it's been a little bit
Which car do we pay $3,500 for?
The green car and...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we've gone up a little bit. But we don't... And we've sat and figured, and the amount that we spend in used cars, even with repairs, is not worth...
Oh, it comes nowhere near the cost of buying
nowhere
car
near.
payments.
We sat and figured it up, and we have an article on our site. You can click and check it out. But we actually figured it out, and even with the one car that we got that was a total lemon, we had to spend $8,000 repairing it because the transmission went out, the engine blew up, it was a mess. We spent $8,000 repairing that car. It was still cheaper than spending the $30,000 to $35,000 after you have to pay interest and taxes and everything on a new car. So we have never...
Not to say that we sit on a car like that. At that point, we ended up saying, this is really becoming a money pit. And we sold it and bought something else for $3,500.
Yeah. But, we drove that car for 8 years. So we still got our money's worth. So that's another way that we save. So it's all of these ways that you cut that the average person spends money on, and that whole entire second income, that's what it's going to. And you don't need a second income to make it these days. Everybody says, oh, things are so much more expensive. That's a lie. It is a flat out lie. It's not. Things are going up, but everything isn't more expensive. We can buy a TV now for $100, and my grandparents had to spend $500 to get their first TV in the 50s. Well, that was like 2 or 3, 4 weeks worth of work for them back then. Now, that's not even a day's worth of work for most people. So, in general, things really aren't that expensive. So that's another, big myth. But yeah, and daycare. Oh, don't get me started on daycare. But yeah, you waste thousands on daycare just right there. And we have added up on our website that you can actually stay at home and earn more money staying at home than by working a second job for a lot of people.
If you really like the job and you want to go there and you're making a lot of money and everything is going great in your life and it just brings you joy doing it, nothing wrong with that.
Go for it.
We were mostly talking about, a lot of people say, I hate my job and I hate the thought of my kids in daycare and I want to be with them.
I wish I could stay home.
And I wish I could stay home and I'm so stressed out and I'm getting sick and having health problems.
I wish I had your luck to stay home.
And I wish I had your luck. But the thing is that, if you want to work and it's bringing you joy on its own, that's fine. If you're saying, I have to work and you're making the choice to do that work, and then all those costs like the daycare, my goodness, I can hear how much
Oh yeah, $1,000 a month is what it is here in Colorado.
That's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
That's almost,
And
you're suspicious
the
because you're wondering
gas,
what they're going to do to your kids at that price.
The gas and the work clothes and the eating out, all that stuff adds up. So we're not saying you don't have to work, but we get a lot of people emailing us saying, I wish I could work at home. Well,
I hate my job and I don't make enough money and I've got daycare, and when we do the math, you're paying more than you're making. And if you're passionate about your job and you're a cardiac surgeon and you're making so much money and you don't really care about the cost of the daycare, great.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Yeah, but honestly, and all the people that have emailed us when I have taken a look at their budget, or people that I have known in person that have asked me, I have not met one person that has not been able to cut their budget so that they could stay home. Not one person. So, if you want to work, go for it. But, if you're wanting to stay home, there's a lot of cuts that you could make. And
most of them really you don't miss after you do them.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really miss out.
Having a lot of stuff is like being an addict almost. The more you have, the more you want. And so, when you're used to having a lot, then you think you're depriving yourself when you cut down. And after a while, you realize, man, I didn't really care about that anyway.
Yeah. So we're not anti-working, just if you want to stay home, you can. Frugal living doesn't mean you're living in poverty. It means that you're using your money wisely and you're making decisions where your money is going to go, instead of just throwing your money out there and just buying whatever you feel like. You actually take the time to think about your purchases and make sure it's where you want to spend your money. So let us know how you save money by living on one income, or if you would like to stay home and live on one income, how can we help you, give you some more ideas? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment below.